So here you are in a federal prison, and you're in a high security prison, like you said. So you have murderers, rapists, gangsters, and so forth. And you're very high profile. Everyone knows that the ex-governor of Illinois is right here with us, which is, stripes for certain people. Like, for, doing something violent to someone, stabbing him up or raping him or so forth, could be seen as a good thing for certain groups in prison. So this whole time that you were in prison, were there any violence or, was your life ever in danger at any point?
Well, to your first question, did I witness violence during those 2,896 days in prison? Yes, I did. Of course I did. Not infrequently. It was not uncommon. And sometimes it was nasty and bad. Now, the authorities there they really crack down on that. And if they catch you fighting anybody, even if you defend yourself, you go to solitary confinement, you could even have new charges brought up against you. They're correctly zero tolerance on inmates fighting. And yet it happens, of course, because you got guys living in close quarters together all the time, and there's going to be all kinds of conflicts. There was no air conditioning in that higher security prison. And the first summer there was the hottest summer in recorded history in Denver. And it was nasty in there. Tempers were short. People are living close together. There were a handful of fans, the big, strong, tough guys would control the fans and deny other guys the fans. They would fight over the fans. Some of the fights got bloody. And then these guys would be all fucked up. And then when the police would see it, they would investigate. And they would, if anybody told, they'd get fucked up. That's how you talk in prison. And if the guys who were all bloodied up, if a third party said that they fought, then those guys would be sent away to solitary confinement. They'd be gone for 6 months. You see them come back. They were big, muscled up guys when they were gone. And they'd come back kind of like a frail and emaciated because no weights in there, right? They had good workout facilities in that prison, by the way. So you had a lot of muscled up guys, all tatted up, tough guys like you'd see in movies. So violence was not an unusual occurrence. One of the advantages I had, being a celebrity inmate, if you will, was, people understood that if they fuck with me, maybe there'd be more public acknowledgement of it. They might face more consequences. So that was a bit of a thing that could give me some sort of protection. But inevitably, you're going to have conflicts with guys. I had conflicts with guys over things. And sometimes, it would be uncomfortable and it could break into something more serious. The other thing I had going for me, though, was as bad as a 14-year prison sentence is, Vlad, in that world, in that community, in that culture among inmates and guys who are criminals, when you get hit with a long prison sentence, it's an announcement to all those guys that you didn't snitch, right? And in that world, snitches are bitches, and there's stitches for snitches. You follow me? But if you're not a snitch, you got real street cred, and they have a certain respect for you. And because it was very obvious I wasn't one, because I got hit with a 14-piece, that's how they talk, right? I had a certain credibility and a certain immunity, sort of, that sort of a certain armor around me that protected me to some extent among a lot of those guys. And some of them admired me. There was an admiration because I was taking my medicine and I was not backing down. So in that sense, I think that was helpful to me. And I made friends there. And most of those guys are criminals. They did it. And they were career criminals, a lot of these guys. But they're not bad guys. They went in the wrong direction. Now, there were some guys, a lot of guys there that were really bad guys. Evil motherfuckers, right? But like my mother used to teach me when I was a little boy, in all groups of people, there's good and bad in everything. Good prosecutors and some rotten, wicked prosecutors too. I like to think more good ones than bad ones, but I got some real bad ones in my experience.
Well, then in 2015, you filed appeals. Well, you had filed appeals along the way, but in 2015, the court actually unanimously vacated 5 of your corruption convictions, including the ones about the Senate seat, but actually affirmed the rest. And then on July 21st, 2015, it got to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th District, which overturned 4 of your 18 convictions, but actually kept the 14-year sentencing regardless of what got overturned.
No, what the appellate court did was they vacated that 14-year sentence and got rid of it completely. So I had no sentence. And then was ordered to go back to the court for what they call resentencing. And so, because the big part of the case was not a crime from the very beginning, that centerpiece of their case was what I always said it was, legal. They vacated the sentence, the appellate court, sent it back to the judge with the expectation, I think it's fair to say, the judge would send me home. And by the time I went to resentencing, I had done 4.5 years in prison. The only charges that were remaining were 3 fundraising requests where I never got any money, and none of it was for personal gain. You follow? They add on a bunch of counts to make it look worse than it is, but it was just 3 wrongs, 3 alleged wrongs, requests made by third parties, not even by me. And to this day, I insist I didn't cross those lines either. But nobody in the history of American politics has ever done a single minute in prison for only fundraising transgressions alone, except me, 4.5 years. These guys would go to prison for fundraising and they took money themselves personally. There's a lot of politicians like that, but no one ever said I did that. But I'm the only one now, after they vacated the Senate seat, who's there only for fundraising. So the appellate court reversed the charge of the Senate seat, vacated the 14-year sentence, gave me no sentence, sent me back to court to be resentenced by the trial judge. When I went to resentencing, we gave over 100 letters from inmates who attested to me how I helped them on their stuff, helped them study for their GED so they can get their high school diplomas, helped give them advice on their life and different things I was able to do along the way, helping, mentoring and things like that, the younger inmates. We fully thought, my daughters testified there, we fully thought the judge was going to send me home. And then you really know it's rigged. He put me back to 14 years. This motherfucker, I shouldn't call him that, he's sick, but he put me back to 14 years. And my daughters are in the courtroom, I hear them sobbing. I'm on a videotape, I'm in a building in the prison, in an office building, to do the hearing. And my kids are heartbroken again. And so I'm there for back to 14 years. And it's interesting because that very day, it was August 9th, 2016. See, you remember the dates, Vlad, on these December 7th, 2011 sentenced, August 16th, August 9th, 2016 resentenced, December the 8th, 2008 arrested, right? You remember these days, these dates. On that day later, Trump is giving a speech, candidate Donald Trump, running against Hillary Clinton. He's giving a speech at a rally in North Carolina, and he brings me up. He brings me up because he knew me from Celebrity Apprentice, and he was so good to me on that show. And he condemns that sentence. They keeping this guy in prison for another 14 years? For that, 14 years? And then he linked me to Hillary Clinton, and he said I was something like a choir boy compared to her, right? And then all of them started chanting, lock her up, lock her up. And I was no longer relevant to his speech. But that was something else, because as hopeless as my situation appeared when that happened, there was Trump, who might be president. And who knows, right? In the meantime, I still had hopes that Obama might do something. But by then, you're running out of your options. And it's looking darker and darker, like I ain't coming home till May of 2024. And that was August of 2016. So that's another 8 years. So there you have it on that day. What's your next question, Vlad?
Well, you mentioned the Trump thing, because then in 2018, he actually had an interview with reporters, and he actually talked about commuting your sentence. He said that your sentence was unfair, and, the statements about enriching yourself were stupid. And he also said that that's, many other politicians say the same thing. Then in 2019, he made a comment to reporters that he was very strongly considering issuing, a commutation of your sentence. And then in 2020, he actually commuted your sentence on February 18th. Now, he commuted your sentence, but it still held on to the conviction, right?
Right. That's right.
How did it feel when you heard that Trump is commuting your sentence?
How did it feel the moment I heard that he was commuting my sentence and I would finally go home and leave prison?
Yep.
I'll give it to you in 2 words. Fucking golden. That's how it felt.
Fucking golden. I love it. I love it. Okay, so from the time that he announced that he's commuting your sentence to you actually getting out, how much time passes?
2,896 days. Nearly 8 years. 1 month short of 8
but
years.
from the time he announces it to the day that you actually walk out of prison, how much time passes?
I'm sorry. On February 18th, he announced it about a little after 11 o'clock Mountain Time. Here again, February 18th, 2020, of course, that's another date I'll always remember, right? I'll remember all the details of how I learned about it, but it was about a little after 11 o'clock Mountain Time. It was a little after 1 o'clock Eastern Time where he was at the Andrews Air Force Base. About to get on Air Force One, he was leaving the White House. And by about 6 or 6:30 Mountain Time, I was finally out of that prison, a free man, going to the airport to fly home to Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, Trump said, when speaking about you, he said, I don't know him very well. I've met him a couple of times. He was on for a short time in The Apprentice years ago. Seems like a very nice person. Don't know him, but he served 8 years in jail. That's a long time to go.
People say, what about your politics? Because I was a Democratic governor. Well, I'm a Trumpocrat for many reasons, and of course, that's one of them. I mean, I owe this guy, I owe President Trump my freedom, my new beginning, in many ways, my life. I mean, I was like that captain on the Titanic, frantically treading water in the cold North Atlantic for 2,896 days, trying to stay afloat, trying not to drown. And a lot of ships passed me by, including Captain Obama, who I helped get elected. And here's Trump, who I did nothing for. He did something for me, had me on his show, and I got paid. And here's Trump, a Republican, and sending a Democratic governor home doesn't help him at all in his politics, and he does it. So it speaks very highly of him as the type of person that he is. He gets such a bad rap by people who don't know him. And I don't know him that well. I just had that experience on that show. But I saw a side of him on camera and off camera that he doesn't get enough credit for. He's a kind-hearted person who's determined to fix wrongs. He's a tough guy. He's a tough adversary. He's against, if he's, on the other side of you, he's tough, a tough adversary. But he's actually a very kind-hearted guy. And in a world of fake politicians who are all about themselves, fake, selfish politicians, I know so many of them because I work with these guys for a long, long time. Both parties, they're mostly like that. They are politicians. It's why we, the people, mostly don't like politicians. I'm guilty of being a politician. I don't know if I'll ever live that down. You hear me? Okay? It's almost better being inmate number 40892-424 because there's sometimes more honor with those guys than with politicians. But Trump is not one. He's very different from those people. That's why he doesn't fit in. And that's why so many of them want to destroy him, because they are fake motherfuckers. I feel so free with you, Vlad, speaking this way. But that's what most politicians are. They're so full of shit, man. And Trump isn't. And so that's why he's got so many enemies who want to destroy him in his party too, not just Democrats.
Did you and Trump ever meet up afterwards and actually talk in person or on the phone even?
Yes, I've seen him a couple times since I've come home. Saw him last week, as a matter of fact, in Florida.
Okay. And how did those conversations go?
Great. He's great. He's great. Again, by the way, I like his politics. I like what he's doing. He's changing American politics. I watch this from prison and how he's fighting the establishment. It isn't anymore about Democrats versus Republicans. I don't think that. It's we the people against the establishment that controls everything. Really, it's the ruling class against we the people. And the ruling class are Democrats and Republicans. The mainstream media, now Silicon Valley and those established multi-billion-dollar businesses that have been created since I've been gone. That's sort of the new world today. It's the ruling class against the people. And corporate America, ruling class, a lot of Democrats, a lot of Republican politicians are part of that. Trump is the new politics. And a lot of his politics and Bernie Sanders' politics is not that far off. It's just the way to get to those places. Because I would argue that both of them are on the side of the little guy, where the establishment politicians, the Pelosi's and the Mitt Romneys, the John McCains and the Chuck Schumers, they're the same. And so Trump speaks to this new kind of politics. And the irony is it's divided really in the wrong places. It should be we the people against the ruling class, less about Democrats versus Republicans. And the cynical politicians use race, the race card, to divide the people. And this new neo-racism that's out there, very unhealthy for our country, is further dividing us, not bringing us together. We got to find ways, common sense ways to find common ground and communicate about truthful things. If we do that, our country will heal itself and get better. Obama had the political skill, the talent, and the opportunity to do that. And in that, he fucked up. He didn't do it. He divided us. This I truly believe. This is partly why I have some resentments towards him. Some of the political stuff with me, but when it comes to his ability to actually heal the country, he went the other way, and he made our country further divided. And that is really, in my view, a real tragedy.